Yes, guys, the following audio is in relation to Ireland's ambulance service that's currently in SHIT. It's the same problem in most organisations, including TUSLA. Its executives are all the cause of problems. They benefit themselves long before they benefit the people of Ireland, that they're paid to benefit. Bosses at the National Ambulance Service lied to the government for years about the existence of zombie jobs, a secretly recorded meeting reveals. Thank God for whistleblowers, fellow Irish men and women. The revelation comes amid continuing concerns about governance standards at the controversy-plagued ambulance service and the fatal consequences of lengthy waiting times during emergency call-outs. The deception about posts that should no longer exist is one of a number of shocking governance breaches candidly discussed by senior National Ambulance Service managers on tape. Unknowns to themselves, they were being recorded during this meeting, and rightly so, it's never any harm. During the recording provided by a whistleblower, executives discussed: number one, manipulating recruitment processes to ensure favoured colleagues get promoted. Number two, providing staffing figures they know to be inaccurate to the Department of Health. Which ultimately funds the National Ambulance Service, and how planning of the ambulance service is hopelessly flawed and without logic. The Health Service executive this last weekend, the weekend before last, actually confirmed it has commissioned an external examination into issues emerging from the recording. Today's revelations come as the National Ambulance Service, its management and its 231 million budget remain the focus of ongoing controversy. Last month, the death of Ian McCarthy. This was actually August, I think 2 years ago. Last month, the death of Ian McCarthy in Roscrea was raised at council meetings in North Tipperary. But folks, as always, these county councillors, TDs, senators, know where the problems are, but until someone blows the whistle, there's never anything said about it. Mr. McCarthy died of an asthma attack last August as his family waited 2 hours for an ambulance. After the wait, 2 ambulances arrived at the same time, but it was too late to save the father of 3, Mr. McCarthy's father, Carl, said at the time. And rightly so, people have to be open about these things. Until someone tells him different, he died needlessly that night, leaving 3 beautiful children fatherless, and a family and wife broken-hearted. At last month's meeting, angry councillors described the state of crisis at the National Ambulance Service and spoke of frontline staff being at breaking point. All due to bad management, guys. The National Ambulance Service responds to more than 400,000 calls every year. It employs 2,400 staff at 100 locations and operates a fleet of 675 vehicles, which is fucking ridiculous, guys, because 675 ambulances on a small little island with a population of 5.4 million that's grown daily. But the service is desperately underfunded and understaffed, I reckon. It is if top executives are doing what they want, when they want. This has been openly acknowledged by NAS Director Robert Morton, who has spoken of a significant mismatch between demand for services and available capacity. But you're obviously aware what's going on too, guys. Mr. Morton is not one of the executives who features in the recording. The management figures who do take part in the meeting never discuss or consider the real life and death consequences of the failures in the service, they are responsible for running. The recording was made during a scheduled meeting between 6 National Ambulance Service executives in July 2021. At the beginning of the meeting, a senior executive explains the purpose of the gathering. Today we want to look at workforce planning on the grounds we have to have one. On the grounds that we need certain pieces for the service plan for 2022, they tell the other managers. The 2022 service plan was confirmed yesterday, seemingly, and has to be off their desk and in the Department of Health on the 27th of July that year. This leads to an in-depth discussion about problems establishing correct staffing numbers and the manner in which some posts have been deceptively retained. One attendee freely admits there are some posts in there where it says when the person dies, the post should be gone. And some of those are not gone since 2017, and they know that. This appears to relate to various rolling moratoriums on recruitment at the HSE that prohibited new recruitment and promotions into more senior grades when staff retired or passed away. Deceiving the department in this way means funding for the vacated post would continue, allowing the money to be diverted elsewhere or facilitating the unauthorised promotion of a favoured manager to a higher grade. And folks, that's the problem in all organisations, including those attempting to govern Ireland. Family members, relatives, etc., are brought in, and that's it. At whose expense? The old vulnerable taxpayer. The meeting continues to discuss how the National Ambulance Service has been deceiving the Department of Health about these zombie posts. And one executive says, more importantly, I'd be trying to tell the department either a lie on it or a way that has been done since whenever it is, and that's the difficulty in going to the department. At another point, a senior executive points to the urgent requirements for correct staffing and recruitment figures. He needs to go to government on Wednesday with a draft service plan, and he needs figures, they said. This prompted a discussion on the difficulty in getting accurate staff figures. Others who were not present were blamed for the problem. Eventually, it is decided to proceed with inaccurate data. One manager says, what I can do is send what I have. I cannot stand over it. And that's a top executive, guys. Another executive replies, I have no issue with that, because what they're getting on Wednesday is the same difference. A third manager adds dryly, no change there then. Despite the admission that their numbers are incorrect, the team then pours scorn on a plan by their director to hire consultants Grant Thornton to establish correct figures. Hard to establish correct figures, boys and girls, if they've been dabbling and messing around with figures the whole time. After discussing their weekend drinking plans, one executive jokingly refers to Grant Thornton as gin tonic. What will they do? Asks one executive. We will give them all the information and they will present it quite nicely on a written page and charge us a fortune for it. Yes, charging them, but who's paying it, guys? The poor old Irish taxpayer. At one point, one executive complains with apparently genuine frustration about the way the service is being managed. It's like catching fucking butterflies, they said. There's no logic, and he has struggled with it. He was really struggling with this last year because he thought, okay, I'll wait and see, I'll sit down, but there's no logic attached to the process of how we manage. In response, another manager agrees, saying, I know there isn't. I know there isn't. The first executive then adds an exasperation. All this effing SHITE to prove your bodies and seats with no plan. Once the main meeting has concluded, the same person then discusses how to rig recruitment processes so their own team members can advance. Whether you've done it or not, put it on your CV. One attendee is advised. I'm quite happy to promote my own team and F them all. I don't give a F. Anyway, that's nice language, folks, for top executives of any organisation, especially the Ambulance Service of Ireland. I think you deserve it. I think you've worked effing hard. It's to be understood that several of the managers recorded at the meeting were subsequently promoted. The ambulance service managers also denigrate and mock several named fellow colleagues who were not present at the meeting. That goes on at all meetings anyway, guys. Vulgar slurs are used as the personal and private details of some of their colleagues are discussed. The attendees also discuss a series of anonymous, AI-generated WhatsApp videos that were circulated among NAS employees. The messages depict management figures singing different songs, the lyrics of which portray how they're viewed by employees. One of those attending the meeting plays one of the videos they are discussing. One executive says of the videos, professionally they were shocking because it just tells you the type of culture there is in the organisation. From a management perspective, you think, F it, they're so close to the bone that they weren't even funny. You'd have to stand back and laugh at yourself, but you couldn't be seen to be laughing at management level. You just couldn't, you know. The recordings emerged amid ongoing concerns and criticism about ambulance response times. Figures made public last summer show that 864 seriously ill or injured patients endured a wait of at least an hour for an ambulance. Reason being, folks, there's only 675 ambulances on the island of Ireland with a population of 5.4 million. Figures made public last summer show that 864 seriously ill or injured patients endured a wait of at least an hour for an ambulance during the second half of 2023, and one ambulance took 3 hours and 15 minutes to get to a high priority call in County Carlow. The worst affected county was County Cork, where 118 calls were not responded to within an hour. But folks, it's Micheál Martin's home county, and you'd imagine that everything would be in tip-top shape. It's obviously not. There are many other Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael TDs in it, but the county seems to be neglected. Wexford has the second worst affected, with 96 separate emergency calls unattended for more than an hour, followed by Donegal, Mayo, Tipperary and Waterford. An audit of the service released under Freedom of Information legislation in December was critical of management and governance issues. The report concluded it could only provide limited reassurance about the appropriateness of risk management and internal control systems in place for the NAS fleet. It also warned there are weaknesses in the system of governance, risk management and controls, which create a significant risk that the system will fail to meet its objectives. Action is required to improve the adequacy or effectiveness of the system. The report found some ambulances are being used beyond their recommended lifespan and highlighted concern over the lack of a complete record of ambulance breakdowns and an incomplete listing of all service vehicles. In response to queries, the HSE said it is aware of the matters you outline and confirmed the health authorities have commissioned an external examination of a number of these issues. They then added, it's important, having regard to the rights of everyone involved, that this process is allowed continue in private. The National Ambulance Service provides high quality, safe and patient-centred services as part of an integrated health system. In 2025, they will continue to build on the significant previous investment in the National Ambulance Service and focus on improving access to care. But folks, what is urgently needed to have an effective ambulance service of Ireland is a change in its top executives, and the same needs to happen every organisation within Ireland, because they are all corrupted to the core due to individuals acting as top executives in these organisations. There is not one organisation on the island of Ireland that's exempt from the likes of that bullshit. The HSE said discussions with unions are underway through the Workplace Relations Commission on a new agreement for many frontline roles that will enhance remuneration arrangements, improve retention and enable the implementation of a new strategy for NAS. The Department of Health said, due to the ongoing internal HSE investigations, the Department of Health cannot comment. Folks, there you go. That's the reason Ireland's ambulance service is currently in SHIT. Just picture it, folks. It's laughable, actually. 675 ambulances on a little island that has a population of 5.4 million that's growing every day. Okay.